The night sky above Colony 7 was quiet. Too quiet for a world that used to roar with machines. Ethan Graves sat on the porch of his small metal farmhouse, an old blanket around his shoulders. The stars shimmered faintly over the empty plains. Inside, 3 little humans slept, not his by blood, but by choice. Mara, the eldest, dreamed of rockets. Juno, the middle one, never slept without her wooden starship toy. And little Finn, barely 5, snored softly beside a stuffed robot, missing an arm dot. Ethan smiled when he heard them breathing through the cracked wall. That sound, peace, was rare after the wars. He had found them in the ruins of different cities, hungry, scared, and alone. He never planned to be a father. But the universe, it seemed, had planned it for him. Then, the silence broke. A blinding flash streaked across the horizon, followed by a low rumble that shook the ground. Ethan rose instantly, eyes narrowing. The crash was close, too close. He grabbed his jacket, an old plasma torch, and stepped into the night wind. Smoke climbed into the stars like a pillar of shadow. His boots crunched on dry soil as he followed the trail, heart beating faster. A crash site meant wreckage. Wreckage meant survivors. And survivors, out here, were rarely human. When he reached the crater, his breath caught. A silver vessel lay torn open in the dirt, half buried, still humming faintly. Blue light leaked from its wounds. The design was unmistakable, alien. Ethan scanned the air. No patrols. No drones. He moved closer, hand gripping the torch. The metal was warm, alive almost, whispering soft sounds like it was breathing. Then he heard it, a faint cry. Not mechanical. Not human either. He climbed into the wreck, crawling through smoke and sparks. His beam caught movement. A figure tangled in glowing cables, armor cracked, skin like pearl with faint silver veins. A woman. An alien woman. Her eyes opened slowly, large, luminescent, the color of dawn on ice. She tried to speak, but coughed instead. Ethan cut the cables free. "Don't move," he said softly. "You're hurt." She stared at him, confused. "You are human?" Her voice was weak, but sharp, like a song struggling to survive. "Yeah," he nodded. "Lucky for you, humans still help strangers." She blinked twice, processing his words. Then, almost to herself, she whispered, "I can't have children." Ethan froze. "What?" Her hand trembled as she touched the wreck's broken glass. "My people? Our stars are dying. We can't create life anymore." Her eyes were full of something he didn't expect. Pain. Real, deep, human pain. He looked at her quietly, then smiled, small but honest. "That's okay," he said. "I've got enough kids for both of us." For a moment, she just stared, trying to understand why this fragile man smiled at her tragedy. Then, something changed in her gaze. A flicker of warmth, or maybe disbelief. He carried her out, one arm under her shoulders, the other gripping the torch. The alien sky glowed faint blue behind them. When they reached the farmhouse, the children had woken, peeking from the door. "Papa?" Mara whispered. "Who's that?" Ethan placed the alien gently on the couch. "Someone who needs our help." Finn stepped closer, wide-eyed. "Is she a robot?" Layara, the alien woman, looked at the child and blinked. "Robot?" she whispered, puzzled. Ethan chuckled. "No, son, she's different." Juno offered her toy starship shyly. "You can borrow mine," she said. Layara looked at the toy, her lips trembling. "Your kind? Gives gifts?" "That's what families do," Ethan said simply. Outside, the wind howled again. But this time, the silence didn't feel empty. Somewhere in the broken sky above, alien drones were searching for their lost noble. But inside the farmhouse, under a flickering lamp, a human father and 3 small hearts unknowingly began something the galaxy had forgotten. A new kind of family god, and as Liara fell asleep, her last sight was the wooden toy starship glowing faintly beside her, small, fragile, yet shining like a real adoption star. Liara woke to a strange warmth. Not the sterile glow of her ship's med bay, not the silent hum of the Empire's corridors. This warmth was a live dot. She blinked at the low ceiling, at the flicker of an oil lamp. The air smelled of metal, wood, and something soft bread, maybe. Her body ached, her silver veins pulsing faintly under pale skin. When she moved, a blanket slid from her shoulders, rough, human fabric. She stared at it like it was a relic from another universe. Then came laughter. Small, bright, human laughter. Through the half-open door, she saw them. 3 children. One was building something from scrap metal. Another drew stars on paper with broken crayons. The smallest danced in circles, singing a nonsense tune. Lyra's breath hitched. She had seen cities burn, empires fall, but never this, such ordinary chaos, such noise that felt like peace. The oldest child noticed her. "You're awake," Mara said, rushing over with wide brown eyes. "Papa said you were hurt. Are you hungry?" Liara frowned, unsure how to respond. "Hun, Gry." The word felt strange. "It means food," Juno explained, holding up a plate of bread. "You eat it." Liara stared at the piece. "You offer me nourishment?" "Yeah," Juno said proudly. "That's what people do when someone's sick." Liara touched the bread carefully, as if it might vanish. No one in her empire would have dared to share food with a stranger, let alone a human. And yet here she was, in a human home, being treated not as a threat, but as a guest. Ethan entered then, his rough hands still stained with engine oil. "Morning," he said, his tone easy but his eyes sharp, studying her condition. "You look better. You scared us last night." She met his gaze, confused. "Why did you help me?" He shrugged. "Because you needed it." "That's not logical," she replied coldly. He smirked. "Yeah, we humans aren't built for logic. We're built for breakfast and bad decisions." For a second, Liara didn't understand the joke. Then, when Juno giggled, she almost smiled, almost. But peace never lasted long in the universe. Outside, a faint hum echoed through the clouds. Liara froze. That sound, she knew it. Patrol drones. Imperial reconnaissance. They were searching for her dot. Ethan saw the change in her eyes. "Who's looking for you?" She hesitated, voice low. "My people? They will not approve of this place. Or your species." Ethan's jaw tightened. "They can disapprove all they want. You're safe here." Lyra's expression softened, but remained troubled. "You do not understand. My kind forbids contact with your race. Emotional contamination, they call it. To even speak to you without clearance could mean exile." Ethan crossed his arms. "Then I guess you're already breaking the rules." For the first time, Liara looked uncertain. She rose, stepping toward the window. The reflection in the cracked glass startled her. Her eyes were dimmer, less metallic. Her body was reacting to the human atmosphere, to their proximity. She was changing. "Papa!" Finn shouted suddenly. "They're shiny birds outside." Ethan moved fast, pulling the curtain shut. 3 small drones hovered far above, scanning. Liara backed away, guilt flooding her. "They'll find me," she whispered. "And when they do, they will destroy everything near me." Ethan grabbed his old pulse rifle from the wall. "Then we'll make sure they don't." The children looked scared now. Liara turned to them, her cold voice trembling. "I didn't mean to bring danger." Mara shook her head. "You didn't. You just need a home." Liara froze again. The word home. She hadn't heard it in years. Not since before her world became a factory of rules. That night, as the drones searched the valley, the farmhouse lights went dark. Ethan hid the children in the basement. Liara sat beside them, her fingers glowing faintly blue, creating a soft light like moon dust. "Are you scared?" Juno whispered. Liara looked at her, small, brave, human, and felt something deep inside her chest stir. "Yes," she admitted, "but not of them. Of what I am becoming." Outside, the wind carried the hum of the alien searchers. Inside, 4 humans and 1 forbidden alien sat close together under one flickering lamp, a small family defying the galaxy's cold logic. And as the night deepened, Lara's silver eyes reflected something new. Not fear, not duty, but warmth. The kind only found at a forbidden's hearth. The morning began with a silence that felt wrong. Ethan stood outside, scanning the pale orange sky above the plains. The usual wind was still. Even the insects were quiet. He knew that kind of silence, the one that came before something big. Something dangerous. Inside the farmhouse, Liara sat near the window, her eyes glowing faintly. The children were playing on the floor, building a fort out of scrap metal and old boxes. They laughed softly, unaware of the growing tension in the air. She could feel it. Her people were close. Their technology left a pulse in the atmosphere, one she could sense through her skin. "They found me," she whispered. Ethan turned sharply. "You're sure?" Liara nodded. "The Silver Envoy has come. They will not speak. They will judge." Ethan set down his wrench. "Then let them judge me too." Before she could stop him, he walked outside. The ground trembled as something massive broke through the clouds. A silver vessel, shaped like a blade, descending through sunlight. Dust rose, grass bent, and the air filled with a sound that made the children cover their ears. The ship landed half a mile away, smooth as glass, silent as a ghost. A ramp opened with a hiss. Figures in silver armor marched out, tall, expressionless, their faces hidden behind mirrored masks. At their center was the envoy commander, his cape flowing like liquid metal. His voice echoed without moving his lips. "Return the noble Liara Vel to the custody of the Karth Vel Empire immediately. Humans are prohibited from physical or emotional contact with Imperial subjects." Ethan's grip tightened on his torch. "She's not your prisoner anymore." The commander tilted his head slightly. "You misunderstand, human. She is not yours to keep. She carries the bloodline of the Empress. You are a contamination, a mistake that must be erased." Liara appeared at the doorway, trembling. Her silver eyes glowed brighter. "Do not harm them," she commanded. The soldiers froze at her tone. She was of royal lineage, after all. But the envoy ignored protocol. "You are compromised, my lady," he said. "Exposure to humans has corrupted your biology. You will be restored and cleansed." "Cleansed?" Ethan repeated, stepping forward. "You mean erased." The envoy turned toward him slowly. "Humans speak too much." Before Ethan could react, a flash of silver light struck the ground inches from his boots, burning a perfect circle in the dirt. The warning was clear. Lyra's pulse quickened. "Stop, enough." The commander lifted his hand, ready to fire again. But something unexpected happened. Finn ran outside, waving a small flag made of torn cloth. "Leave my dad alone," he shouted. Liara gasped. "No." The child stood before the soldiers, small and shaking, but unafraid. "She's our friend. You can't take her." The envoy lowered his hand, more in confusion than mercy. "This child claims kinship with you?" he asked Liara. Lyra's voice cracked. They saved me. They showed me what my empire forgot. Compassion. The commander's tone hardened. Compassion is a human disease. And you, my lady, are infected. Ethan moved to stand beside Finn. Then I guess we're all infected. The air shimmered with tension. A dozen rifles pointed at them. The wind whipped through the dry grass. Then, a hum from the farmhouse. A metallic sphere rolled from the doorway, blinking blue. One of Ethan's old mining drones, half functional, carrying a plasma charge. "Run!" Ethan shouted. The explosion lit the sky. Dust and flames swallowed the front ranks of the envoy soldiers. Alarms screamed from the ship. Ethan grabbed Finn and sprinted back toward the farmhouse. Liara stood frozen, torn between two worlds, duty and heart. When the smoke cleared, the envoy ship began to rise again, damaged but not destroyed. The commander's cold voice echoed through the air. "You have chosen exile. Lady Liara, you and your humans will be erased from the records of our stars." The ship vanished into the clouds. Silence returned. Ethan collapsed to his knees, catching his breath. The children clung to him, terrified. Liara looked at him, this human who stood against an empire, and something inside her broke free. "I never thanked you," she said softly. He looked up, dirt on his face, eyes fierce. "Don't thank me yet. They'll be back." Liara glanced at the horizon, where faint silver trails cut across the morning sky. Her hand trembled as she touched her heart, a human gesture she had seen the children do. "They will," she said quietly. "But next time, I will not hide." And as the sun rose over the plains, the farmhouse, cracked, smoky, and still standing, became something more than shelter. It became a line in the sand, a small home that had just declared war on a star-born empire. The sun barely rose that morning. A dim red glow filtered through the clouds, heavy with ash and smoke. Ethan's farmhouse stood bruised but alive, half its roof scorched, windows cracked, but the walls still standing. Inside, Ethan was already moving. His hands were cut, his shirt burned, but his focus never wavered. The children were safe. That was enough reason to keep fighting. He dragged an old generator from the shed, sparks jumping as he forced it to life. Around him, wires, drones, and broken tools cluttered the floor. Every piece of scrap mattered now. Every bolt could become a weapon. Liara stood near the doorway, her silver hair reflecting the weak morning light. She looked at him, puzzled by his persistence. "You fight, even when the chance of victory is none," she said quietly. Ethan didn't look up. "It's not about winning. It's about not running." She tilted her head. "That is not logic," he smirked. "It's human instinct." Liara watched him in silence. He was sweating, exhausted, bleeding, yet determined. Humans were fragile creatures, yet they refused to yield. It confused her, and fascinated her. Behind them, little Finn peeked from the hallway. "Papa, the radio is making noise again." Ethan wiped his hands. "Turn it down, buddy. Might be Empire signals." But Liara stepped forward, listening. The signal wasn't alien. It was human, a faint distress call, repeating. "This is Ranger Outpost Delta. Survivors near the valley. Requesting shelter." Ethan frowned. "More people?" Liara nodded. "They will bring the Empire faster." He sighed. "Then we better hurry." By noon, the house was transformed. The children carried tools, fetched cables, and stacked metal sheets into makeshift barricades. Juno drew strange symbols on the walls. "For luck," she said. Ethan smiled, pretending to believe her. Liara moved among them silently, watching the rhythm of their work. The smallest things amazed her. How Mara whistled while hammering nails. How Finn offered her a flower from the burned field. How Ethan kept making jokes even when fear hung thick in the air. These humans, they weren't afraid of death. They were afraid of losing each other. That realization hit her like lightning dot in her world. Attachment was forbidden. Families existed by genetics, not by choice. Yet here, these fragile beings built love out of ashes and called it home. When night fell, they gathered around a small fire in the kitchen. The windows were covered. The generator hummed softly. Ethan checked the perimeter through a cracked tablet screen. If they come again, we trigger the decoy drones. Buy time, get to the shelter. Got it? The kids nodded, wide-eyed but brave. Liara watched them closely. Her chest felt heavy, a strange pulsing warmth that wasn't pain. She looked at Ethan. Why do your children not fear you may die? He looked at her with a small, tired smile. Because they trust me to come back. Something in that answer stirred her deeper than any command or code she had ever known. Her silver veins glowed faintly. Ethan noticed. You okay? Liara blinked, confused. I feel strange. My body temperature is rising. My eyes, they blur. Ethan knelt beside her, worried. You need rest. But she shook her head. No, it's not sickness. It's transformation. Before he could ask, the walls trembled. A deep hum rolled through the earth. Outside, the sky lit with faint silver arcs. They've returned, Liara whispered. Ethan grabbed his rifle. Kids, basement now. The children scrambled. Liara stood by the window, staring at the glowing horizon. But this time, her fear was gone. She raised her hand, the faint light from her veins now brighter, warmer, almost golden. What are you doing? Ethan shouted. She looked at him, her voice calm, steady. Adapting. The glow expanded from her hand, spreading like a shield of liquid light. The farmhouse shuddered as an energy wave struck it, and the blast dissolved harmlessly against her barrier. Ethan froze. You stopped it. Lyra's breathing was heavy, her glow flickering. Human emotion. Rewrote part of my biocore. I am no longer just Karth Bell. Ethan stepped closer, awe in his eyes. Then what are you? She looked at him, smiling faintly for the first time. Something that can protect our family. Outside, the Empire's ships circled in silence, confused. Their scanners showed impossible readings. Inside that little house, an alien noble and a human father stood shoulder to shoulder, their hearts beating in sync. The human instinct to defend had become something more. Something powerful enough to frighten an Empire. And for the first time, Liara understood why the universe feared humans. It wasn't their weapons. It was their will. Far above the human planet, in the cold silence of space, a throne of silver and light floated between the stars. Inside sat Empress Sereth Vel, ruler of the Karthvel Empire, and mother of the missing noble, Liara. She had not slept for days. Her long fingers tapped against the armrest as holographic images flickered before her. Reports, surveillance, chaos. Every channel now repeated the same forbidden transmission. A small human child shouting, "She's our mom." Those 3 words spread faster than any virus. The Empire was trembling. An alien noble had bonded with humans, not as conqueror, not as overseer, but as family. Unacceptable. Your Majesty, the High Advisor said softly, his silver eyes reflecting the flickering hologram. The silver envoy failed to retrieve Lady Liara. She appears to have defended the humans. The Empress's expression did not change, but the air in the room thickened. Defended? She repeated, voice calm and sharp as glass. She shielded them. My lady. Witnesses from the drone logs confirmed she used a forbidden's energy adaptation. Her body reacted to human proximity. Sarath's eyes narrowed. Emotion has altered her code. Yes, Your Majesty. It seems she has evolved. A long silence followed. The Empress rose from her throne, the light around her dimming. Prepare my vessel. she commanded. If my daughter has forgotten who she is, I shall remind her. On the ground, the farmhouse stood quiet again, though nothing felt peaceful anymore. Liara sat near the doorway, staring at her glowing hands. Her veins pulsed, not silver now, but warm gold. The transformation was spreading. Ethan was fixing one of the old plasma cannons he'd pulled from a broken drone. He worked in silence, only glancing at her every few minutes. The children, now used to danger, were drawing on the dusty floor. 3 humans and 1 alien holding hands under a crooked sun. Liara's gaze softened. Your kind finds comfort in symbols? She asked gently. Mara smiled. It's how we remember we're not alone. Liara touched the drawing. Her fingers left faint trails of light. Then let this be our symbol too, she said. But before Ethan could respond, a sharp tone echoed from Lyra's wristband, a signal from space. She froze. Her mother's voice followed, cold and clear. Lyra Vel of Karthvel, daughter of the crown, kneel. The children jumped. The sound wasn't coming from any speaker. It vibrated through the air itself. Lyra stood slowly, her eyes clouding with fear and defiance. Mother. Ethan looked around. That's her. Lyra nodded. The Empress. She does not speak across light years, unless she intends judgment. The voice continued. You are infected by lower life forms. Return to the fleet or face erasure. Ethan stepped forward. You can't just erase her. She's not property. There was silence, then the air shimmered. A projection formed above them. The Empress herself, tall and radiant, her eyes like frozen suns. She looked at Ethan with distant disgust. So this is the creature that defied an empire. Ethan stared back, unflinching. Just a dad doing what dads do. The Empress tilted her head. You risk extinction for sentiment. Such weakness is why your species remains bound to dirt. Ethan smiled faintly. And yet somehow, that dirt keeps growing flowers. The Empress blinked, unreadable, then turned to her daughter. You have 1 cycle to return. Choose your blood, or your contamination. The projection faded, leaving the air trembling. Lyra sank to her knees, shaking. She will come herself. My mother never threatens twice. Ethan knelt beside her. Then we prepare. For war, she asked. He shook his head. For survival. And for love? She looked at him, confused but moved. You cannot win against her fleet. Maybe not, he said, tightening a screw on the cannon. But we can make her understand. Lyra touched his hand. Humans. You always believe you can change the universe. He looked up at her and smiled. Maybe that's why it's afraid of us. Above the planet, the Empress's massive ship cut through the stars, its engines burning like white suns. Her soldiers bowed in silence as she whispered to herself. Humans teach love like a weapon. Perhaps it is time I learned what it costs. And down below, on a quiet human farm surrounded by ash and wind, a father, 3 children, and 1 alien mother prepared to face an empire, not with armies, but with the most dangerous thing in the universe. A family's love. The stars were falling. At least, that's how it looked when the Empress's fleet broke through the upper atmosphere. Dozens of silver ships glowing like comets, casting long shadows over the land. The sky turned bright white, and every heartbeat in the farmhouse froze. Ethan stood on the porch, his jaw tight, rifle slung across his shoulder. He had faced many things in his life. War, hunger, loneliness, but never something like this. An empire, descending for 1 woman and 1 small family. Beside him, Lyra stood tall, her eyes golden now, her body humming with light. She wasn't just alien anymore. She was something new, something in between. Human warmth fused with alien power. They've come for you, Ethan said quietly. Lyra's voice was calm, No, they've come for us. The children huddled by the door, wide-eyed. Mara whispered, "Will they hurt us?" Ethan knelt, brushing her hair gently. "Not if I breathe." The ground shook as the Empress's flagship landed in the distance. A wave of dust rolled across the field. From the storm of light stepped Sereth Vel, tall, regal, her silver cloak rippling like a storm cloud. Behind her, thousands of armored soldiers spread in formation, shining like blades. The Empress's voice echoed across the field, amplified through the air itself. "Lyara Vel, daughter of the crown, surrender your corrupted body. The humans will be purged with honor." Lyara stepped forward. "No, mother." Her voice carried strength that silenced even the soldiers. The golden glow around her brightened, dancing like fire. "You taught me that life is sacred, that the stars are to be protected. Yet you destroy those who love more purely than we ever did." The Empress's cold eyes flicked toward Ethan. "This human taught you disobedience." Lyara shook her head. "He taught me family." The Empress raised her hand, and the fleet fired. The first wave hit the ground like thunder. Energy blasts ripped across the plain, lighting the night like day. Ethan pulled the children to the basement as debris crashed around them. Lyara stood outside, unflinching, her golden aura expanding in a dome around the house. Every blast that struck her shield rippled outward, dissolving into harmless light. Her feet sank into the soil, her energy tethering to the earth itself. Inside, Ethan's hands trembled as he loaded his rifle. "We can't stay buried," he muttered. "She'll die out there alone." Mara grabbed his sleeve. "Papa, you'll get hurt." He smiled weakly. "Heroes always do, sweetheart." Then he ran out. The battlefield was chaos. Smoke, fire, and light clashing like storms. Lyara stood in the center, breathing hard, her golden glow flickering. When she saw Ethan charging toward her through the dust, her heart seized. "Ethan, go back," she shouted. He didn't listen. He fired at the drones circling above, drawing their fire away from her. A blast struck near him, throwing him to the ground. Lyara screamed, not as an alien noble, but as a mother. She rushed to him, falling to her knees. His chest was bleeding, his breath shallow. "Why?" she whispered, cradling him. "Why do you keep saving me?" He smiled faintly. "Because that's what parents do." Her tears fell onto his face, but when they touched his skin, they glowed. Her energy flowed into him, sealing the wound. The light spread across his chest like living gold. The Empress, watching from her command platform, froze. "Impossible," she whispered. "She's healing him with her essence." Lyara stood slowly, her eyes blazing. "Mother," she said, voice shaking the air, "this is the evolution you feared, a fusion of empathy and strength." The Empress raised her hand to fire again, but her soldiers hesitated. Some even lowered their weapons. They were watching something sacred, something beyond orders. Lyara lifted both hands. The golden aura expanded, wrapping around the entire battlefield. Drones fell, weapons melted, and soldiers dropped their helmets, their armor turning to dust under the warmth. The Empress staggered back, her eyes wide with disbelief. You merged with them. You became less." Lyara walked toward her through the light. "No, mother, I became whole." The Empress's voice faltered. "You cannot fight love with reason. It consumes everything." Lyra's expression softened. "Then let it consume us both." She extended her hand. The light enveloped them. Mother and daughter, alien and human, ruler and rebel. For a moment, everything was silent. When the light faded, the Empress was on her knees, trembling not from defeat, but from understanding. Ethan staggered to his feet, still weak, the children running to him. The battlefield was still. No more weapons, no more screams. Just peace out above, The fleet turned away, their engines quiet. The Empire had no command left to follow, only a new lesson to remember. Liara turned toward Ethan, her eyes dim but gentle. "Now you know, my Empress," she whispered, looking up at the sky. "This is the power your empire forgot, the power of hearts that refused to stop beating." And as dawn broke, golden, light spread across the ruins, the light of two worlds finally learning to share one soul.